Hello, happy March Madness to everyone. This is this week's edition of the SoCalSportsReport.com podcast. Vince Morales filling in for John Stellman. He'll be back in the captain's chair next week. And I'm alongside my good friend John Adams.
Hello, hello.
And we've got a lot to talk about, but I want to invite you all to check out SoCalSportsReport.com, the website. Go over to the little button that says leave a message or, get involved. Click it and leave a message for us. You can give us your opinions, your take, any comments that you have, and we'll try and get you on the show next week. We have got a lot to talk about. The NC2As are happening. We've got March Madness, the big dance. The NC2A men's basketball tournament started in earnest on Tuesday night with two first four play-in games. The other two play-in games last night. We had Selection Sunday turned into Bloody Sunday for the USC Trojans. Arizona State, and UCLA in the opening round. Play-in games, and USC brutally snubbed. They are out, but we'll talk more about Arizona State and UCLA's showing in the play-in round. We've got about 15 games left in the NBA season. We'll talk Lakers and Clippers. In the NHL, it feels like the playoffs have already started. Games are intense and critical to the playoff hopes of the Kings and the Ducks. Anaheim about 2 points out of the wild card and also two back for the last Pacific Division spot. There are 7 teams within 4 points of the Western Conference wild card. So it is a log jam. We'll talk about the newest expansion team in Los Angeles, the LAFC, off to a blazing start. The Dodgers and Angels smack dab in the middle of spring training. Tiger Woods moving the needle on golf ratings in the hunt at the Valspar Championship this weekend and and playing again this weekend, and had started out at first round in the first 9 holes. He was 3 under, but
He ended up 4 under.
And he ended up 4 under. Yeah. And the NFL free agency officially opened yesterday, and we'll see what else we can cram in. So we're talking about the brackets. John Adams, your opinion off the bat as we start about what happened at Pac-12 and USC.
Well, first of all, I think you and I discussed prior to this that, we had text messages going back, really fired up about no love for the Pac-12. It almost feels like it's like SEC football. It's all about the SEC football. It's not. It's almost like every committee hates the West Coast, really, unless you're a big wow factor. Like Arizona is a 4 seed in the tournament, had a great year, but USC was right behind them. I know they're going to come back and say that they didn't win the quality games that they were supposed to win, but they came in second in the Pac-12. They came in second in the tournament. I think they had enough to go in. Now, going into that, it came out as after the committee had spoken that you could go 10-0 in the first 10 of your games. You could win against 5 to 6 teams, right, that are quality teams, and then you could go 2-15 the rest of the way. But again, it's not how you finished; it's how you played against quality teams.
Yeah,
I'm totally against that because a team like Oklahoma State beat Kansas twice, and that's the first time that Bill Self has lost to one team twice, I think, in 15 years or something crazy, right? And you won quality games coming down the stretch. So they didn't win the quality games at the beginning of the season, but they won them late in the season, right, and they get snubbed, right? So that being said, and now that you see kind of what happened with UCLA and ASU, the committee's loving it, feeling like they did make the right decision because, USC, granted, they lost their best player because he didn't want to play in the NIT. They go into overtime and barely beat an 8 seed, right? So the committee's kind of looking like they're a genius on the whole Pac-12 thing, although going into it, I thought it was just very biased.
I disagree with that, and with the whole genius thing, because I think it says just the opposite. It says that wow, ASU and UCLA should never have been there to begin with, and that if they had snubbed other Pac-12 teams and just had Arizona and the Trojans in, Chimezie Metu would have played, right, and you would have had 2 really worthy teams from the Pac-12 in the tournament. You would have had to explain why you only let 2 in from a big, a Power 6 conference, right, like the Pac-12. But I think if they had wanted, from the beginning, if they had wanted to make a case for USC, they would have made a case for USC. It was very easy to do and very simple. They complicated it. And so if you look at it and say, oh, they complicated it, I get that. But let me just explain why I think it could have been very, very simple. If they wanted to simplify it and you start looking and throwing stuff up on the wall, USC, second place in the Pac-12. They were second place in the conference tournament. They had a strength of schedule of 37, an RPI of 34. They had 23 wins. And coming into the conference championship, and they were 12-6 coming in in conference play. It's very simple. Second place in the conference, second place in the conference tournament. That is an NC2A tournament team. They're worthy. Now, if you start to complicate it and you go, well, they didn't beat Arizona State. They didn't beat UCLA. They didn't beat Arizona. Okay, I get it, but it's still a tough conference. They say no, which immediately, to me, diminishes UCLA and Arizona State.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, it's a wash. So if you're saying, okay, the Pac-12 isn't strong, then you're washing essentially how they performed in the conference. So you've got an Arizona State team that was 8-12 in conference.
Yeah.
And UCLA, who was right around 10-8. And because of Arizona State's quick start, going undefeated, coming into conference play,
just like Oklahoma,
and then and beating two teams, Villanova and Kansas, right? Number one teams, they essentially could coast. They were on ice skates from the middle. So what the tournament committee, selection committee is telling us is that quality wins in November that people have forgotten by February.
Right, exactly. Care.
Those matter.
Yeah.
And to me, that's wrong.
I agree.
Because it's completely simple. Second place team could you imagine? We've talked about this sort of thing before. Could you imagine what would happen if the second place team in the SEC or the ACC, the second place team in those conferences, were snubbed and they weren't let in?
But on the reverse, 9 teams from the ACC got into the tournament.
Exactly.
Right? 9 teams. And what's really wild about it is how it was seeded. And you have I got it right here. You have Miami, who tied for third in the ACC, is a 6 seed, ended up getting beat today. Got beat. Okay.
Exactly.
You have Clemson, who tied for third in the ACC. They're a 5 seed. You have North Carolina, who tied for third in the ACC as a 2 seed. Okay, and then you have 9 teams, Syracuse being one of them, that gets into the play-in game, right, and ends up, beating ASU. But if you looked at that game, it was a bad basketball game. It's like it's just so almost it's so East Coast driven, right? And I don't know. It was really frustrating to watch how they made these decisions. And then the guy from the committee chairman gets on, and he's kind of like a deer in headlights. He was just like, he reminded me of a guy that went in a room with 5 people and they said, "This is what we're doing." He said, "Okay, I'll back it up." Like, I don't know if I don't know. It was frustrating to watch from start to finish. The show was horrendous. I'm not a fan of this new, by alphabetical order and, a big stage with guests, with people in there. That didn't help either. So it's like today, like I told you, it's the first time I've never filled out a bracket. I was kind of bummed from the very beginning.
Yeah. John, you and I talk about this all the time about Las Vegas. They get it right more often than not.
Yep.
And sometimes all you have to do is look to Las Vegas spreads to know when a team is better. You don't even have to take the eyeball test. Right. You don't have to look through strength of schedule or Ken Palm or or RPI or any of this stuff or any of these analytics
power rankings
that they're using. All you have to do is look at what Las Vegas has been doing for years and how they rate teams, and know that plenty of teams got snubbed.
Right.
Because Louisville, Penn State, Baylor, Notre Dame, St. Mary's, Oklahoma State, USC, Middle Tennessee, Oregon, Nebraska, Marquette were all rated higher than Syracuse.
Yeah.
All rated higher than Syracuse and would have been favorites in any game over a Syracuse or anybody that they played. And 12 NIT teams were rated higher than St. Bonaventure.
Yep. Exactly. I saw that same stat.
It's nonsense.
It really is. And how they actually thought of Baylor making it. Baylor was on the radar to possibly make it. And I looked at that and I'm like, that's ludicrous that Baylor was even thought of.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, you actually had them on the screen as a just out team. And I'm like, Baylor's terrible. Like, they don't belong in that.
And I'll go back to what I said earlier in that if the selection committee had wanted to make a case for USC, they would have. This feels punitive to me. This feels like they wanted to punish USC for any implied or perceived transgressions that the program has. Tony Bland getting caught up in the FBI investigation, Chimezi Metu getting caught up with it, DeAnthony Melton not able to play this year. Those were big deals. Those were big deals. And I think it's not how it should be. You know, they didn't have to make the case against Louisville, or maybe they did. But I think that the NC2A just said these guys have black marks near them, and they didn't want to make a case for USC.
And I think actually that you're absolutely right with that, where they took Louisville and they took USC, and they kind of just said to the whole NCAA, if you're under investigation on anything, we're going to find a way not to put you in this tournament. Yeah. But then the Sean Miller situation's gone away real fast, and that's not going to be talked about till later.
I don't know why. I mean, if you've got the guy's voice on tape, but we don't know if that's true or how that was
he
leaked.
said, she said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, but like I said, the committee did not want to make a case for USC, and they didn't. Right. And that's why Arizona State was in, and that's why UCLA made it, and we see where they are. They are out.
Right.
They are one and done. They didn't even get to the final, the 64, and it's the first time in I think a few years since 2012 that the Pac-12 has started the round of 64 with just one team in there. Unheard of, unprecedented. USC was in the era of the 68 team tournament. USC was the highest rated team to not make it to the tournament. Don't get me wrong, they had bad losses, but they were resilient. They lost DeAnthony Melton, as I said before, the injuries to Boatwright and others during the season, Boatwright out at the end of the season. They lost Metu to a suspension. And I think if they had won one of those games against Texas A&M or Southern Methodist, we're not having this discussion. Right. But the Trojans survive and advance in the NIT. Yeah. They're number one seed, well deserved. Chimezi Metu is an absolute selfish coward as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Sitting out, those are his brothers.
Yep.
He let them down, and they played like a team that could not afford to lose another guy. They played with 7 guys.
Right.
They had one of their freshmen whose name is unpronounceable and who played for maybe 4 minutes, looked pretty good, but then Enfield didn't trust him again, and they essentially played with 7. And again, I know in the tournament and later in the season and the postseason, when you shave down and you get a tighter rotation of guys playing, that typically helps. In this case, they had played so many games in the conference tournament. They were playing pretty quickly at home. They suffered. They suffered from losing Chimezi Metu, and that was a game that started on the spread was early 15. Probably got cut in half when Metu wasn't playing, and they were able to hang on, but they weren't the same team, and we'll see. The Western Kentucky Hilltoppers are going to give them fits.
Right. Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I mean, basketball is a team sport. You've been with this guy, you've been with these kids forever. I mean, not forever, but for this whole year. You got suspended for doing something stupid. Yeah. They still had your back, and this is what you do to them, and, give it the old, bowl game type of atmosphere where you're going to say, well, you know what? There's some guys that just sit out in bowl games because they don't want to get hurt. You know what? Yeah. You're playing basketball. I mean, you're not running into a linebacker. So I just thought it was cheesy.
I like his skill level.
Yeah.
I think he could be a pro. He's still young and still a little soft. I'm wondering what he's saving himself for.
Yeah,
I mean, a 4th round pick.
He's not a wow factor.
A free agent signee. G League. He's not.
No.
He's going to be on somebody's bench
Depth
or
depth
a
chart,
G League.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what he was saving himself for.
I wonder who got in his ear. That's the other thing. Yeah.
And again, it's more evidence that they clearly have been talking with agents and
Right.
and guys well in advance, because you don't just make that in 2 days. In a vacuum. You don't make that decision. So, really disappointed to see that. But without Chimezie, they will play in a few days against Western Kentucky, and it's going to be hard for a short-handed squad. Yeah. So the UCLA really just melted down in that second
they did
half.
it to themselves. They had 20 turnovers. Their star point guard had 10 himself.
Right.
And you know what? I thought it was a great strategy by the Bonnies, where they just said, you know what? We're not going to let this guy beat us. We'll let everybody else beat us. We're not going to let him beat us. And what happened is that's where UCLA needed Welsh to step up, and he was not very good. And a lot of people are going after the coach, and he's like, Alford's needs to be fired, and I mean, you can't coach 20 turnovers. I mean, these kids just. It was bad basketball, and they paid for it. And I thought on, St. Bonaventure, I got to give them credit. They strategized right. They went after the key guy and shut him down, just like what they do with Oklahoma, right? You go after, Trey, and you shut him down and let everybody else beat you.
Yeah.
And so,
Holiday looked down the stretch like he didn't trust his team. He was trying to
do it all by himself.
And then was frustrated, picked up 2 terrible offensive fouls late. One, you could say, all right, well, maybe not, but he's already calling you tight. Why are you throwing another elbow at this guy to clear space? I know why, because you're trying to get to the hole yourself. You're not looking at your teammates. You're not looking to extricate yourself from, the defense. You're trying to get yourself open, and you're not trusting anybody else. So they're a young team overall. Defense suffers when you're young. I think some of it has to be on Alford's shoulders. UCLA has high expectations when it comes to their basketball. When it comes to their basketball, they have a lot of talent on that team, but they're going to lose some talent again, and Alford needs to learn how to deal with that. And if he's not going to deal with it, he's gone.
Right.
But I think he survives. I
do too. You got Shaq's kid to come in, right? That might keep him there
exactly.
1 more year.
Right. Exactly. Who, after the Miller allegations, decided to
jump ship.
Yeah. And that was the best thing that could possibly have happened for UCLA and the Bruins for next year. So Arizona State just did not acquit themselves well. They, frankly, the way that they played, they just shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Right, I agree.
I think that was evidence that they just didn't belong. They may have beaten a couple of number 1 seeds early in the season,
but they didn't beat any of those down the road going into the tournament.
They could barely beat anybody in their conference.
And they played like they played in the tournament. In the Pac-12 tournament, they haven't been playing well lately, and. That showed for sure. And Syracuse is pretty obvious. They know what what they're going to give you. They're going to give you a zone, right? And you just have to be able to get through the zone. And Boeheim survives another one, and but I have a feeling some of these teams I know St. Bonaventure might have a chance, but I think Syracuse is going to get beat up in their next round. So
we've got Cal State Fullerton going to the dance.
I hope they enjoy their time, because that could be really quick. Because
have fun.
Purdue's got 2 big boys that are gonna just eat them alive.
Purdue, a couple of 7-footers, just
it's gonna
beasts.
Yeah.
Not an easy game for the Titans. And then we've got San Diego State against Houston. That's happening right now.
I'm trying to get it.
They were down about. They were down 10 at the half. I need the over 142 and a half.
We
need that. But you also need San Diego State.
48-39. with 13 minutes left.
Okay.
Houston.
Keep scoring, boys. Keep
right.
scoring.
Yeah.
We've got Gonzaga, number 4 seed, opened against UNC Greensboro, and they will advance.
I saw the finish to that game. Did you see the finish of
Clanking
it?
some. I didn't see it, but
The freshman
clanking some free throws.
But the freshman hit a couple clutch
Hit the big
threes.
three.
Yeah, it at the very end. So they survive another one. But that was a scare for sure for the Zags.
Exactly. So we've got a full slate of games tomorrow as well. 16 games tomorrow. The final evening games happening in short order. And with that, who do you think? Who do you like?
Well, I know
advancing?
that you. I really. I'm going to grab my glasses here to look at it. I'm actually rooting for Virginia. I really am rooting for Virginia because I really think that they've really kind of stayed the ground the whole way through. I like how this guy coaches. But
Tony Bennett?
Yeah, and I think Arizona is going to get beat early. They could actually. I think North Carolina might make a little bit of a run.
So of the 1 seeds, Kansas, Villanova, Virginia, and Xavier.
I mean, again,
who do you
this thing
think?
always gets chalky,
Yeah,
right? I'm not going to lie to you, right? So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Villanova meets a Virginia in the final. I'm not, but Loyola won this today. That was a great upset over Miami.
Not unforeseen. A lot of people.
True,
That was
yeah.
a sexy pick today.
Yeah, right.
The sexy upset pick
Right.
today. And for a 6-11, a 2.5 point spread is pretty low.
A lot of people are picking Michigan State to make a run, but I actually don't think they're at the top of their game. So I'm going to take a Duke to kind of advance through that.
You know what, John? I have bet so many times against Izzo and the Spartans. I'm reversing everything that I've done in the past. I'm going with Michigan State. I think they're going to continue on.
It wouldn't surprise me,
But
right?
I'll tell you who I like and have liked for a while, and because of some
Kansas
of the,
is starting to play good basketball.
some of the defensive analytics that I've investigated, I put some money on Cincinnati early.
Yeah. Yep.
And I have them to win it all based on how well they defend. And so that's my
Cincinnati
sleeper.
versus Virginia is
That's
going to be a really.
that's actually who I've in my brackets. That's who I've been taking, Cincinnati.
Nice.
So a little bit of an upset though. They're a 2 seed and they're a good team. So
you know what's kind of interesting is this whole little area there in the East, right? I don't know who's going to come out of this. You know, Florida, Texas Tech. I mean, Stephen A. Austin's giving them a run for their money right now. You know, Purdue could actually make a little run. They're probably the team that, you know, with the big guys that could actually do something out of there. But I think that Purdue is actually very beatable. Actually, they struggled. You know, then they get a streak of losing 3 or 4 games in a row here down the stretch before the tournament. But Nova's clicking on all cylinders.
See, I'm looking at that bracket. I think Purdue advances pretty easily to the Elite Eight.
No, I totally agree there. I'm just saying when they start to get into the Elite Eight to the Final Four, that's where they could, run into their traffic. Kansas seems to be going through when they got their momentum going through the tournament, their tournament, and so it looks like they're bred to kind of go far, and but Seton Hall could give them a little run for their money in that deal. Clemson actually is somebody that's unique that might be able to do something. And actually Tennessee looked pretty good in their. So there's who knows. It's all about matchups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you start getting into that 16,
absolutely,
it's all about matchups, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's very. I'm curious to see how Texas does against Nevada. But I just think it's the parity's there now. When you got Loyola only getting, I think they were only getting 2 in that game, right, against Miami. It wasn't a big spread. So there's a lot of good players everywhere. Like Middle Tennessee State, who didn't get in. They had a lot of good players on that team. So I don't know when it comes
killed
down.
The Trojans
when it comes down to getting to the 8 to the 4. It's all about your bench, right?
Yeah.
It's all about your depth, and that's where these little guys get hurt, I think. So, But I can totally see the Cincinnati thing.
So a lot of good basketball this weekend. So like we said, 4 more games this evening, 16 tomorrow.
Did you see the Georgia State coach's interview yesterday? Because he's playing Cincinnati. He goes, it's real simple because Cincinnati stays at the Ritz-Carlton. We stay at the Best Western. He says Cincinnati eats at the Ruth Chris. We eat the Wendy's. But you know what? We're all wearing the same type of uniforms and wearing the same shoes and on the same basketball court. So we'll see what happens. So
those are the types of things coaches say when they're 15 or whatever point underdogs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What are they, by the way? I'm trying to find out what
no idea.
14-point underdogs. I would give those points all day. That's my team. Cincinnati. So we'll next week, John, we'll talk about Sweet 16, and
you guys. Actually, I won't be here, so I'll listen to you guys.
Excellent.
Talk about who you think's gonna win.
So we shall see. Well, more things will unveil themselves as the tournament progresses. Some first round games completed after tomorrow. Second round games Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll wait till next week for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games. Now we'll switch gears. We'll stay with basketball, but we'll go to the pros. 15 games left in the NBA season. The Clippers, as it stands, are in playoffs,
right,
where they stand. If it ends today, the Lakers are not. They're 10th, but they're a distant 10th. Mm-hmm. They're quite a ways, and it would take a miracle for them to make the playoffs. But I don't think that was ever anybody who was reasonable knew that wasn't the goal this year. The goal was to improve, and they have. I think.
Do you think 41 is in the possibility for a 500 season?
No.
Well, they are one of the hottest teams right now in the NBA.
8-2 in the last 10. Right.
But last night, you had a deplenished Golden State team, and they still
the last 11.
Yeah, but you know what? The buzz is going around to where they are exciting to watch. And that's great. Your boy comes in to play against the Clippers and he loses, and then he goes in. I shouldn't say your boy, but LeBron comes in, and then LeBron comes in to play the Lakers, and they handle him very well.
They did.
And so does that kind of have his eyebrows go up and say, wow, you know what, this is kind of a fun team to right. Obviously they're going to need another person, but I think a lot of it has to do with Ball. When Ball plays well, the team plays well, and when I still know he's at 30% from the threes, but he is hitting more threes now. I still kind of question when he pulls up on some shots. I don't think he needs to, but he rebounds so well as a guard, and he runs the floor very well.
Facilitates great.
And they're doing this without Ingram, which is very positive. So
yeah, one of the comments that I heard somebody on the radio say is, this is the worst we're going to see Lonzo Ball. This is the worst you're going to see him play. This is it. And when you keep that in perspective and know what he contributes to the team and how he facilitates and really elevates the team and their game, it's encouraging. Mm-hmm. That this is as bad as it's going to get. He can only get better. He's only going to get better. He needs to get stronger. The bottom line for me is that I still don't see him as a great shooter. And anybody who thinks, he's going to be a perennial all-star or he's going to be a Hall of Famer, you don't get to the Hall of Fame shooting 54% from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. You just don't, unless you're Shaquille O'Neal. But even he shot better than that. Those things need to improve. And I think the thing for the Lakers fans to remember is that with age and experience comes consistency. When this team gets consistent, what's it going to be? And who's going to be in to fill in the gaps? All of a sudden, the guy who we've been trying to shop, Julius Randle, is the best guy on the team.
Exactly.
So how do you handle that?
And Isaiah Thomas has actually been pretty good.
They don't like each other now.
And they got into a scuffle, but according to the coaches, are like, it is what it is. It's a bridge under the water. So I don't know. We'll see. But
I think it's a fun experiment to watch Isaiah Thomas and Lonzo Ball. To have Lonzo off ball, then have Lonzo bring it up, and have Isaiah off ball sometimes. But the bottom line is that Isaiah is a shoot first point guard, and that's never going to work with the rest of this team. It just isn't. It's just not going to work. And it's not going to work if he's still around when you're trying to land LeBron James. LeBron doesn't want to play with him. Yeah. He's not, because the ball stops there. He's a ball stopper.
Right.
And he doesn't move it or shoot it right away. He likes to dribble and penetrate and do some things.
And sometimes I watch him try to go into the paint, and I'm like, you're too small. What are you doing? And he's always getting blocked, or he's losing the ball. Just stay outside the perimeter and just shoot.
Shoot your threes, drive, draw, and dish.
Right. Exactly.
Open things up for the other guys. But I guess the thing, they had a good comeback win against the Nuggets, a team that they had lost to last week, but still 7 games back of a playoff spot with 15 to go, and that you can't get there from here. Mm-hmm. So we know that right now it's about where they elevate in the draft and how well they play and the kind of confidence that they come out of this with, and who they land in free agency this summer. So
I think if they, they can win, because their over-under was 31, right? They're right at it right now. Mm-hmm. And if I think they can get to 35 games or something like that, I think it's a very good, finish to the season. You're leaving with a lot of positive thoughts. And how aggressive do you get in the offseason, or is this more of a 2020 play? Is it a 2019 play for a little bit and then more of a 2020 play? I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
But if they can finish it off, I think it can be it could be actually a very positive finish to the season. So.
And the Clippers, who they had a great win against Cleveland. So when Cleveland came in, dropped 2 in LA. The Clippers with a 116-102 win, and still right in the hunt for that 8th seed. But right. I think they make it. I think they make it. And I don't know that I'm encouraged for the future of Clippers basketball right now with who they have right now.
It's kind of like it's a mystery, right? There's not a lot of talk about, like with the Lakers, they're like, oh yeah, they're looking at George and they're possibly looking at LeBron, and you don't get that out of the Clippers. It's almost like, you know what, we're secondary in this town. We'll let them do all the talking, and you know what, we're just going to keep our thoughts to ourselves and kind of keep it on the quiet side. They did make some major changes here this year, and it's actually worked out in their best.
It's cleared the kind of space that they need to get better,
but actually still continue to win, and be competitive.
No, and in that regard, to keep them in the playoff hunt for now, and free up some space for next year, it was great. Those were great moves.
Yeah, great moves. So, it's wait and see. I don't know who they'll be getting. Is they going to get Golden State the first round, or I don't know who? But obviously, it's going to be probably a one and done situation for the Clippers. But again, if you went up to Doc and said, "Hey, look, you're going to lose these guys, you're going to gain these guys, and you're going to make the playoffs," he would have said, "Okay, where do I sign?"
Right.
Right. So.
Right. So 15, like we said, 15 games left. Plenty of work there to do for the Clippers. The Lakers just need to put in work. They're not going anywhere, but they can get better. They can solidify and then start to examine what they're going to need to pick up in the draft, what they're going to need to pick up in free agency, and who they're going to move in order to, whether they will be able to move the Luol Deng contract. Isaiah Thomas will come off the books, and whether or not they move Julius Randle. I can't believe that his stock could get any higher than it is right now. I think if LeBron James is your target, you cannot keep Julius Randle.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a good player. I mean, you hopefully you can get something out of it. But if not, I mean, if you can try to manage a way to keep him on the team, I think you really got to try to do that, because he really does move people around and fights hard down in the paint a lot. So, how he is in the locker room and how he is, I don't know too much about that, but he stirred it up a little bit with Thomas last night. Was that Thomas's fault? Was that, his fault? We don't know. But according to Walton, it's over with. It was a little scuffle or whatever, and that was it. So who knows, really?
Let's just move on to the NHL, where things have gotten wild and woolly. They're heated, they're hot, and like we said, it's like a mini playoff season.
Yes.
You were talking about the Ducks, and 7 games left or 10 games left.
Yeah. It's just it's flat out is what it is. It's all there on paper, and like we discussed at the very beginning, every game's a playoff game. And every game is crucial for them, but they're going to have to increase their power play to even be in contention to do this. And right now, being a big Ducks fan, I'm a coin flip that they make it or not, because they have crucial games against, Colorado, Calgary, or Calgary, however you want to say it, right? Yeah. The Kings. Right, Winnipeg is another one. You can't lose games against Arizona's on the deal there. They play against Minnesota. So there's a lot of really clutch games that they're going to have to step it up, and this will be the time to say, look, you can make a great run here, and you can actually win a lot of games to the point where you've got great momentum and great confidence going into the playoffs after beating these great teams in the West. If you don't, it's real simple. It's all on the table. Either you do or you don't. But I seem to think that they're going to have to win at least 7 of those games, 6 or 7 of those games, to actually make the playoffs. That's how tight it is.
So the 3 from the Pacific are Vegas with 95 points, San Jose with 85. The Kings at 82 hold the tiebreaker over Anaheim, what I understand.
Right.
They're both at 82 points right now. So that would be Los Angeles.
So how huge is that game going to be?
Gigantic.
And I think it's in L.A.,
Gigantic.
if I'm right.
So the wild card is right now is Anaheim, Calgary, St. Louis.
And St. Louis just took it to them the other night.
Actually,
right?
I'm sorry, Dallas, Colorado, Anaheim. That's the problem.
And we play Dallas also. That's the other team we play.
Yeah. Wow.
It's going to be and it's almost like, are you going to beat the crap out of yourself for those 10 games just to get in the playoff that you're almost spent? But, it's the Perry's got to step up. The Getzloff's got to step up, because I'll tell you right now, Gibson is stepping up. He's had his best season he's ever had. He's been unbelievable from the All-Star game to now. I think his goal it's like 1.9. I mean, how do you not win with that? Well, you don't win with that because guys are scoring shorthanded goals on you. Your power play is horrendous, and you're just not putting the puck in the net. And Vancouver was in town yesterday, and they beat them 3-0. And obviously, Gibson had another hell of a game. Yep. We did what we were supposed to do, but it's Vancouver, right? Can you do that against Calgary and Winnipeg and the Kings? That's what you got to do that. So it's more or less the coach looking at them and going, it's there. You want it or you don't want it. So
well, the mini playoffs start now, and playoff beards get to start them early because
exactly.
It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be bumpy. So good luck to the Kings. Good luck to the Ducks. So one of them is likely. It feels like one of them likely to be bounced. Going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the NFL today. Yesterday was the official free agency deals. They could talk to them before, and they could arrange those deals, and then finalize trading. And so the Rams are going to be different in the defensive backfield. They traded for Marcus Peters, so that was finalized, and then Talib. Aqib Talib. Good God. So at the corners, changes everything. Trumaine Johnson gets the contract that he was looking for after being. He's making a lot of money after he got franchise tagged 2 years in a row by the Rams. The Jets will take him 3 years, $45 million. That is a big contract, and the Rams just weren't willing to pay that anymore, especially when they were able to get guys like Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. So they also re-signed their nickelback, Nikel Roby-Coleman, the former USC Trojan, and they traded Robert Quinn. So he had changed from
Right,
defensive
linebacker,
end to a linebacker to fit into Wade Phillips 4-3. They get a 4th and a 6th round pick, give up Quinn and their 6th rounder. 62 and a half sacks in his career. He was tremendous, and he was a big reason. He had some injured-riddled seasons, but he's going to the Dolphins, and now it looks a little bit like there's a hole. Whether they address that internally, they had a couple of guys that were able to play and for them. So, but we'll see if that's something that they'll address in free agency, address via trade, or something they'll address in the draft, or build from within. And then as far as the Rams' other transactions, they will lose Sammy Watkins. He's signing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
That was crazy what they gave him. I mean,
Absolutely
that agent
crazy.
is the MVP right now of all the agents, because you're going to give him a guaranteed $30 million.
He underwhelmed in LA, and
He was the 4th best receiver.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just go give him 40. Now, again, you kind of look at the Kansas City Chiefs and you're going, wow, you've got Kelsey,
Yep.
you got Watkins, you've got Hill, you got the running back Hunt, right? You've got some offensive powers, and now Mahomes is their quarterback. And so it's there. I mean, if they can, I mean, they've got 2 of the fastest wide receivers in football, you know, with Hill and Watkins, because, you know, but I was sad to see what Green Bay did, but I can understand why with letting their wide receiver go, Jordy Nelson, who I think would be a nice little fit for the Rams. I don't know if that's, you know, something that that would be interesting. I know that he gets hurt a lot, but you know, I also could see him go to the Raiders, someone like that too. But
As
you know, getting back to it, I thought that Sammy Watkins should go kiss his agent's feet, because that was just completely way overpriced to give him that kind of money, and what they got guaranteed was insane. So
I saw, listened to something with Sean McVay, an interview with Sean McVay, and he had nothing but great things to say about Watkins. But I think that if you were being really honest, you know, he's not 100% disappointed to see him go. He knows that he can fill in. The guys around him are very good players and were productive, very productive. And the other thing is that he said that there's a lot of things that they can do. They don't have to just replace Sammy Watkins. They can go with what they have and maybe go with 2 tight ends. They can go with the slot back. They can do a lot of different things and give defenses some very different looks than they did even this season. And so that's encouraging to me that he's already thinking ahead and ready and preparing.
Right. I have a feeling behind closed doors, I don't know if Watkins did a lot of his homework.
Right.
I have a feeling that it's I'm not going to say it's like New England and how he runs his staff, but I'll tell you this much. If you're going to play, what I get out of McVay is if you're going to play for him, you're going to do your homework, and he's going to, he'll put in the time, but he expects you to put in the time. And so I have a feeling behind closed doors, I don't know if Sammy really put in the time in film and doing those kind of things. Yeah. So that, again, it's just a rumor mill. I just heard it the other day, but that's kind of what I heard. So
yeah, I don't think it's a tremendous loss for.
No,
it was great when they signed him and it looked like he would open things up and he did, but he certainly wasn't the top receiver for that team. They had a lot of good play. So we'll see what happens with the Rams coming up. The Chargers, so things happening in the West, but not a lot in Charger land.
It's been on the basics, So
Casey Keenum to the Broncos.
So the quarterback carousel has been quite interesting, right? So you've got McCarron goes to Buffalo. That quarterback Taylor goes to
the Browns.
Right. And Denver goes and gets the Minnesota quarterback, Case Keenum. And then Kirk. So
he left Minnesota,
right? And then Kirk Cousins goes to Minnesota, and the only guy that has not been moved is your Super Bowl champion, Mr. Foles, who's just sitting back going, go ahead and franchise tag me for $25 million or whatever it is as your backup quarterback. Well, they want a number 1 pick for him, and everybody's going, no, he's a number 2 pick. So I don't think they're getting. People don't want to give up that number 1 for him, and you know what? I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think they're doing the right things in Philadelphia. I think they're still building on Ernst being their the quarterback, right? And or Wirtz, right? Wirtz, right? So Wentz, sorry. Wentz is the quarterback there, and he is. But I'm wondering how his return, is going along, like how his rehab is. There hasn't been a Foles talk.
No rush to move Foles
exactly.
when you're not sure what kind of Wentz you're going to get back.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, so the quarterbacks have been flying around. So that being said, they're thinking that a lot of people might trade up into the Denver's got like the 6th pick, I want to say. So there's a lot of guys that might want to come up and get, one of the quarterbacks in that 6th spot. So, and then obviously they're still talking about Sam probably going to Cleveland to kind of be behind a guy like Taylor. So, I don't know if that's a good fit for him, but it is a quarterback guru coach there. So we'll see. So. Don't know, but it's been quite exciting with watching all the quarterbacks fly everywhere.
It's going to be fun to see what else happens in free agency and with the draft coming up, what's going to be happening and how teams decide to improve themselves. So we'll move on to spring training baseball. Dodgers and Angels hitting mid-season or mid-spring training. Some answers and maybe more questions for the Dodgers in the outfield as Kemp has been terrific. Came into camp 40 pounds under his weight that he was playing with the Braves and starting to look good and seems to fit and chemistry going well. And Kike Hernandez had 5 RBI the other night and that could be an interesting platoon. And Tolles coming off his ACL tear has hit the ball well this spring. I think the odd man out right now is Jock Peterson. Mm-hmm. Chris Taylor's got the spot in center field. Maybe Tolles, who's not a great fielder, could play a little center field. I'm not sure. Peterson is just not hitting. He's just not hitting.
He hasn't been hitting for a while.
He hasn't been hitting for a while.
Yeah.
He had some good big numbers, but he doesn't get on much, and he's just not hitting. So. Yeah. Not sure what the Dodgers are going to do, but it looks like their rotation is essentially set. There are no surprises there.
Right.
Walker Buehler, who's the next big arm coming through, apparently optioned, so he's minor league camp. We knew that they were going to take it. They were going to treat him with kid gloves. So it's Kershaw, Hill, Wood. Maeda and Ryu.
Right.
So
and keep Ryu healthy. That's the other.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to worry about moving one of those guys until somebody else emerges.
Right.
But I think things are set. Is this a 100-win team? I probably not. But can they win the West again? For a 6th straight year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And over on the Angels side. Again, they seem to be finding their way.
Yeah. I think a lot of, obviously they are going to that 6-man rotation. I think the pickup with the third baseman and Kinsler at second base it's actually starting to work. It's the numbers are pretty good in spring. Carter's going to probably be playing a lot for Pujols over there. He's got good power numbers. He does hit the ball well. He likes to strike out a lot. But the Ohtani thing is, I think he's like 2 for 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
That first hit was, I think the first couple of hits came in the first game or something like that, or second game, right. And it's been 0 for since.
Look, it's early, I get it, but I would worry. If I were the big Angels fan and I was looking at it, I'd be a little worried because we're not seeing it at the plate and we're not seeing it on the hill.
Right.
Neither
I'm
of those
more
things
worried
is
about the
working
hill
out.
than I am worried about the plate,
What
right?
I would be the most concerned about is like, okay, if he doesn't hit, he doesn't hit. That's fine. I've got no problem with that.
Right.
This is a guy who we were told could hit top out at 100.
Yeah.
And we're seeing what, 93?
Yeah, 93, and the fastball's flat.
And
So
flat.
they're trying to have him throw more cut fastballs because the ball, it's the major leagues. The ball's got to move, right?
So look, I understand spring training is all about kind of working your way up, but a guy who's topping out at 93 either never threw 100, never hit 100 on the gun officially, or has something wrong with his arm.
Right, that's a possibility.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And we know that there was the leaked report that he had the platelet-rich plasma injections and the treatment before he came and signed with the Angels. And we're not sure who leaked it. The Major League Baseball is still investigating that. But I'd be worried about that. I'd be worried about that, especially if he's topping out at 93. It's flat. He still could get you some innings, but if that's not going to be the way he goes, he needs to hit the ball.
Yeah, and again, I think it's early, right? So it's don't panic, but he's also going to have to learn how to pitch in the major leagues. I think you can get away with a 93 mile an hour fastball, but you got to learn how to pitch. 93 to 95 mile an hour fastball might blow away guys in Japan, but it's not going to here. So you got to learn how to pitch out, in, up, down, and you need to learn how to pitch, right? And so I'm wondering, it's funny because you haven't seen him pitch in spring training. You've seen him pitch on the back fields against minor leaguers. So it really, you're looking at him going, and that's why all these scouts have kind of came out and said, he should start out in the minor leagues.
Get some at bats in the minor leagues
and get some at bats.
I don't think that's
actually pitch. No, he's supposed to be in the rotation. This will start with him in the majors and work his way through. If he goes 0-5 or 0-6 or whatever, and he gets beat up, you could see him going down for a little bit, and they'll just they'll say something right to get him down there. But in my mind, what I'm seeing so far, that guy should be starting in the minors, but. Shoemaker is not holding his own.
Right.
Shoemaker's throwing a wiffle ball up there, and it's leaving the park quick. And Shoemaker's a guy that's probably going to sit in the bullpen and do spot starts. So Ohtani's your sixth man there because, he faced Skaggs the other day and Haney, and I think Skaggs struck him out 3 times hitting. So the hitting thing is just very coin flippish for me, but the pitching is going to be the key thing because everybody seems to be doing okay in our pitching staff, other than him, and Shoemaker. Shoemaker,
and I think that's okay if he were hitting 97, 98, and it was flat, and
he could sneak
he wasn't quite there yet. I'd say okay. But now we're looking at it, and the thing that I would question is, okay, he's not going to get the at-bats that he needs in the majors. Right. He's not going to – so if somebody says – if the scouts are looking at him saying he needs 400 minor league at-bats, right? It's about what Puig had, okay? And he's maturing. He's getting there. He doesn't have those. Now, some would argue, okay, he had his minor league at-bats – in Japan. It's not looking like that. No. Okay, I think he still needs 300 at-bats before we can see what kind of hitter he's going to be. But if he's not, are you going to still plug him in? He's not going to get 300 at-bats playing twice a week.
And that's what they're doing down there. What they're doing is if he's not going to play for the major league squad, he goes on the backfields and hits first to try to get as many at bats as possible because these guys are starting to panic a little bit and go, he needs to see
he needs live pitching.
He needs live pitching over and over and over again, right? Because some of these guys are throwing stuff that he's never seen before and he's just looking at it or swinging at it, right? So it's funny. I just saw the other day is like he had like 8 at bats the other day because he just kept playing.
Right.
Just keep playing. Like you don't even play in the field. Like we'll just hit you. Right. But I agree with you. He's going to have to see way more at bats to be more comfortable before he goes up.
The problem is that there is no precedent for how to handle and develop a player like this, a two-way
right
player.
It's a pitch,
a
two-way
position, right,
pitcher.
a position
Yeah.
and a pitcher.
It's not an outfielder,
Right.
So
And I think that's part of the problem, because if you overwork him, at bat, that puts pressure on the elbow. If he's already got some issues with the elbow, it's sort of this 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's pick your poison, right? Do you keep getting him at bats and tire him out and for pitching, or do you just give him enough innings to where he's developing as a pitcher? I wouldn't want to be Scioscia.
more at bats, more chances of getting hit, and more chances of getting hurt.
Right. And at what point does a kid like that start to doubt himself? Like, oh, jeez,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not. Maybe the United States wasn't the right.
Or maybe
decision.
these guys are right. I am just a pitcher. I'm not a hitter.
Right.
So numbers don't lie.
Right now he's neither.
Right, exactly. But I think he's more of a pitcher than he is a hitter.
And my retort to that would be, but what about the velocity? What about the velocity, and what about that elbow? So if he's a pitcher, it's minor league time. Baby him, because you can hide him down there, right? But if he's in the majors and he's your 12th, 13th, if you have to keep 13 pitchers just because you need to get Ohtani some innings, that doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's hogging a roster spot, and that's not something you can experiment with when you don't know what's happening in your rotation and in your bullpen.
Point.
So we'll see. We're going to be at the end of next week. We'll be down in spring training.
Yeah.
We'll get a first hand look at all of these guys and take a quick look at Ohtani and see what we think, and we'll report back. So we've talked about spring training. There's just a couple of little things, and I will throw this in because it's an interesting story. Bob Bradley, the head coach of the LAFC, the Los Angeles Football Club, the new expansion team in the MLS, started with a big win on the road against the Seattle Sounders, and then just buried Real Salt Lake 5-1 in their second game. Diego Rossi scored twice. Galaxy has lost, and they play at the Whitecaps. This is going to be a fun rivalry. Even if you don't like soccer, it's always fun to have more sports going on in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and they're going to get a lot of support. So soccer is really big in Southern California, from the youth soccer all the way up to high school soccer to obviously college soccer. So I think it's almost like having two football teams in the same city.
Have you seen their
facilities at USC? I hear it's state of the art.
They raised the sports arena where we've been for lots of games and concerts. Especially Bruce Springsteen, who we've seen there numerous times, who loved that arena. It was one of his favorite arenas.
Sound,
He liked it better than Staples, even though he played Staples quite a bit too. He liked the Forum, but then he's played the Forum and the sports arena. So it was hard to see the sports arena go, but it was a dump. It was a dinosaur. It was old, and they needed to get rid of it. And this facility for the LA Football Club is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be selling tickets and starting a rivalry.
Right, and starting out great. So, it's LA. You win, they'll sell it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
So.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep you up to date on those things. And then I think we're going to wrap it up with Tiger Woods, who's, like I said, was moving the needle on things. Tell us a little bit about what he's doing for ratings and his game.
So last week, I saw a stat that said that the Valspar Open in Florida, and he was in contention going down the stretch. Obviously, came in second place, had a chance to make birdie on the last hole to tie to go into a playoff against Paul Casey. Had a higher rating than every single major and golf tournament last year other than Sunday of the Masters. And this was a Valspar Open that had a 5.2 rating. So after watching the whole entire week, and he started off again, he's on a golf course he's very familiar with right now. He's won there plenty of times. It's in his old backyard, and he is I think he's 2 shots out of the lead. But what I figured is this: his short game is back, okay, and he's starting to build a lot of trust with his game. And I view it as this: if he drives the golf ball well, I don't think anybody can beat him. That's how much confidence he has. He's figured out his golf swing with his irons, okay, and he's figured out. He's got the chipping down. His short game's back. He's putting great, but it's the driver right now he's still trying to figure out. And if he drives the ball well, it could be. So I'll tell you right now, golf usually starts the week of the Masters. When I say that, nationwide. The snow's melted a little bit, spring's in the air. If he's in contention at the Masters, and if Phil is in contention, this might be one of the best Masters ever in history, because it's crazy how those guys are still in their mid-40s, but because of their past, everybody wants to come out and watch them.
So two greats, two legends in the autumn of their careers.
Right. And I want to say the stat was Phil Mickelson's last win was 1,687 days ago, okay, when he won. And if Tiger Woods wins this Sunday, it will be 1,687 since his last win. So kind of wild. So, but overall, it's great for golf. He moves the needle, and a lot of people are buzzing and talking about it. So I'm a big fan. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of his past, but I'm a fan of his game. So let's hope that he can play well this week, or play well, at the Masters.
Golf is a better game when Tiger Woods is in it.
Correct.
And it's good to see. I think the thing that I will say is that if he looks healthy, he looks fit. My question would be, how precarious is that for him? I mean, are we one torque swing away from seeing him back on the DL?
I don't. Well, yeah, I think everybody is, right? You know, you can always say,
but I mean, is it higher?
But playing multiple tournaments in a row was a good test of how he feels, right? And he came back and said, "Hey, I'm not playing on Monday. I'm taking the day off," because it has been a lot of golf for him. But he's played multiple tournaments in a row, and he's taken a week, and he's played multiple tournaments in a row. So that's a good sign that his body is holding up, So we'll see. I mean, it can get quite cool in Augusta, so we'll see how the weather is there. That's the one that I kind of question, is if it's really cold outside and he's all bundled up and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see.
Golf is great for it looking great, and to have him in the Masters would be terrific. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, he played well, and he's playing well again. And let's see if on moving day, if he can advance and stick around and be in the hunt, and then close one out.
You got it.
All right,
I'm in.
All right, let's Tiger at the Masters. That looks like I think that's all we've got going on. NC2A tournament. We'll be talking about that next week. John Adams will be out. Stellman back in the captain's chair. I'll be over there. And remind you again, SoCalSportsReport.com. Go there, leave a message for us in the little tab on the right, to be part of the show. And give us your take, give us your opinion, give us a comment. And that's it for this week. Good night.
Did we not cover by 2?